Hello, everybody. This is Rauta, and today, May 2023, this live stream is all about the black metal band I'm vocalist of, Nightside. Now, I decided to do this live stream about Nightside band because there was a little talk with our label, Purity Through Fire, which released our demo 2023, the kind of a taster for the coming album and all. And we talked about that. Obviously, the Nightside material cannot be really reviewed on a Rauta channel for rather obvious reasons. The thing here is, obviously, because being part of the band myself, it's not exactly something that you can do. So, cannot really do the review, but I can of course talk about the material, just in not a critical way like I would be talking about some normal album, or any kind of a release. So instead, decided that we should do a stream, or should, but decided like this could be the great way to you know get you to know Nightside a little bit better. And of course, because I cannot really interview myself, I would let you do the questioning, and I would be the one who answers. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, this kind of the interview today, or this stream, reminded me that I should actually um, pick my memory card from the camera, because I did one of these interviews recently, and I should actually upload it to the computer. So, not really distracted, but more like trying to do things, because obviously these streams start um, a little bit delayed always. Whenever I start a stream, there are not too many people around commenting and whatever. So it's always like a little bit me killing a little bit of time. So anyway, make your questions about Nightside, and that's a little bit worthwhile. Now, in order to for me to pick up you here on the stream chat, make sure that you tag me, you know, with my name Rauta, so I will more easily figure out your questions in case they just happen to roll too quickly, and I have proper time to address whatever you're asking. So anyway, long introduction like they always is. Let's grab a can of beer and start answering your questions. So welcome to the Rautas May 2023 Nightside stream, Nightside live interview stream. Um, yes, Shashaka. The thing here is, the Nightside is very much in the works of doing the second album. Obviously, at this point, it's untitled and all, but there are quite a few songs ready already, which means we should have a new album done by the end of the year. There is not exact time deadline or whatever, so can't really say when the album would be ready. But let's say this way, that we're aiming for a certain amount of songs that exceeds the amount we're looking for, and then we're supposed to pick the best ones, the most fitting ones for the album. So I'm assuming by the end of the summer we should be preparing for recording. When and where exactly that will be, which kind of songs, how many, etc. Cannot really comment that too much, but yeah, the album is in the making, and quite a few songs are already ready. Uh, Very good question by this promotions. My role in the band is writing lyrics, and of course the vocalist. Now, it was kind of a surprising me, because I don't really underline it. So at the same time, it wasn't really surprising, but it was surprising that not too many people knew that I have had bands for almost 30 years now, and I joined Nightside in 1996. So I guess because I always browse metal archives and other sites for information myself, I guess I was expecting that a lot of people would know following Rauta channel and all that stuff that would know about my own band background. And that's why I never kind of advertise it too much that I have these bands unless it becomes a topic for sort of kind of conversation. So a lot of people have been surprised actually that I have had and still have some active bands. But yeah, our original vocalist was gone from the band for quite some time since the band disbanded around 2004 or so, and I had been already gone from the band by that time. And when we kind of get back together finally 2021, there was even talks before that like we should get it going and all that stuff. But sometimes things just get delayed. But yeah, original vocalist, even if not the only one in the band. So there's that. Hello, Iron Bond. Rauta is all good here doing this Nightside questioning. Hello, Ikarios Natarius. Long time no talk. Yeah, summer is getting fine. And this time we're focusing with the stream on the band called Nightside and the vocalist of. And in general, I guess we could say we had just one rehearsal since I got back to Finland last week, right after Steelfest. And tomorrow is supposed to be the second rehearsal with the whole band. And yeah, we're ready to tackle some new songs and some new lyrics. A lot of them need to be written. I have some ready, but obviously not for all the songs. We could safely say that not all the songs are ready at this point, but we will get it going. This seems like I need some kind of lighting here. I'll just put a little bit more this lightning here, so we will be able to. The image should not be that grainy. I don't know how much this actually helps, but let's try to make it a little bit brighter here. All right. Can I share how I practice my vocals? Well, I'll be honest with you. I really don't practice vocals that much in the sense of I imagine how a lot of people would, practice. And by that I mean I kind of just do a lot of not that much really, but I do sing just by myself sometimes, and they can be just totally different than anything metal related. So I don't really have a practice pattern when I'm not at the rehearsal room. I'll just basically go through some songs, sometimes with made up lyrics in order if I don't remember something. I try to keep the melodies and ideas going on in my head so I can just, get the song and flow going without, being abruptly stopped. And when I'm at the rehearsal room, well, I'll try to fit the lyrics, what I have in the works, to fit whatever song structure is going on. And then I'll just let my voice out. And I sometimes play a little bit with my voice. That means sometimes I go for raspy or more throaty approach. Sometimes I'll just try a little bit go higher. But I know at this point that without proper, vocal practicing, like taking singing lessons and what have you, it's not going to evolve magically something into something different. So I tried to a little bit warm up with the vocals, but I've never had any kind of you know um, singing lessons taken. So I'm not gonna say I'm a good singer and all that stuff. And of course, what needs to be understood is that people's voice change over the years. And of course, whatever you do with your voice is going to affect how you sound like. For example, when I do a lot of these interviews on a festival, which is usually something like 2 4 days, and when you keep talking, when there's like, songs being played on the background, say a gig, and you're trying to have a conversation with your friend and you kind of have to speak more louder, obviously that is going to tax your throat, and that means like you will have a lost voice. So I guess I'm saying here I try to feel how my voice is changing, and if it's too taxing or feeling like I'm losing my voice. I try to talk a little less, shout a little less, and all that stuff. But I also think that when you really talk a lot, like obviously I do with this with those Rauta videos and stuff like that, you kind of learn to feel about your voice, and you can hang on with the voice longer than if you didn't do it on regular basis. Of course, singing is a little bit different than talking, but basically you are kind. And this is not a scientific take. This is a like take. So, what people from scientific background. So I might be full of shit here with my comments and all, but basically, in a way, I feel like it's you're handling with your muscles here. So obviously, how you make the sound come out of your system, out of your body. Um, you kind of feel when you're like putting a lot of energy and using them too much, you will get, worn out in a way. So much like going to the gym or I don't know, jogging or whatever, you will feel when you are like tired and when you are, kind of taking too much strain on your body, which applies to throat as well. So whatever kind of singing or talking you're doing, you will always have to listen to your body, in my opinion, because if you kind of like go overboard it, you will have a sore throat, maybe your voice is not as good as it could be and all that stuff. So a lot of shouting, especially going way too loud with way too much amount of time, like extended periods and all that stuff, of course it can affect how you're able to put out voice. Like some people might remember last year at Steelfest when I was doing the last day interviews. My voice was pretty much a goner. So obviously, it's not exactly the type of situation where you want to be when you want to do interviews or do vocals for a band. Obviously, I didn't have any band rehearsals, let alone gigs at that time, but it could really have been something disastrous, for the lack of a better word. So I guess my bottom line here is whatever you train, I mean, listen to your body. For example, if you play a guitar, and you get a little bit strain around your wrist and arm and all that stuff, you need to recover. You need to take a break, especially when you get older. Young people might have the thing that they don't necessarily listen to their bodies and what kind of signals are doing, like whether it's about feeling pain. It can be around your throat or whatever wrist. Any part of body can really, kind of feel the tension and all that stuff. And if you don't really take the break or breaks, especially during a longer session, you might have to pay kind of a. I mean, it can be really taxing. You really need to kind of understand what kind of strain you're putting yourself into, and the less you give a fuck about your body, the bigger the price you're gonna pay. So it's important for vocalists. Obviously, whatever you do, it's all about your throat, your body. What is the system? I mean, of course, the same can be said about a guitar, bass, or drummer being the most physical instrument. So if you break something from your body, it can really affect how you play, how you perform, how you sing, and all that stuff. So I don't know if there's one good tip I can tell you about it, but I think nutrition, drinking enough water, and sleep are very, very essential. And not just going overboard. We have to recover from whatever we do. The harder you punish yourself, so to speak, the more recovery time you need. So, for example, if somebody was going to ask me, like, how are you going to do a 20-day gig tour? I have no idea. We never did it with Nightside. So I don't know how good I perform with those kind of dates. I guess I should do something about it. But at this very moment, it's not really a question I need to answer. So a long answer to your short question. But I guess practicing about screamy, growly, whatever kind of vocals, just need to play with your sound. Like, don't limit yourself to any given style. Like, even if you think you're like a black metal vocalist rather than anything else, feel free to experiment what you can do and how you can stretch those boundaries. Like there are certain limits which you probably can, cross without any kind of proper lessons and teaching and all that stuff. And we all have different kind of um, how to say vocal range, and of course all these will limit. But practicing helps a lot. Experimenting what you can do and what you cannot do will of course help. For instance, I've noticed when we have been rehearsing with Nightside is that what I could do, for example, as a younger, less experienced dude, my vocal range was a little bit different. So now it's, I guess, more raspier and throatier than what it was back in the days. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just kind of a different. But also, what helps that over the years, even though there was a long period of time I didn't really do any kind of band rehearsal as a vocalist anyway, you know, those times didn't really help to get better as a vocalist. But of course, when you do different kind of listening and you hum and you sing to some other songs, of course, it all kind of helps. So voices change, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that you probably should prepare for. There's a good question about live shows. Like, will we see Nightside at Steelfest or some other places? Um, I hope so. Yeah, we're all the band is definitely up for playing at Steelfest, and in a way that would be kind of a like I don't know if dream come true is the right word, but right choice of words, but let me put it this way: we would definitely love to do it, a show there at Steelfest or Steel Chaos, because I think that's the kind of a crowd and audience we would really connect with. It's mostly black metal people. On the other hand, it would kind of make my role a little bit different as a Rauta dude because I always have a lot of interviews going on and all that stuff. So, on the other hand, if we would play a show there, it would be great. For Rauta, not so much. If we wouldn't play a gig, it wouldn't affect Rauta stuff. So, to answer that question, really is I hope that we get to play at Steel Chaos or Steel Fest. But then again, given that we're kind of a unknown band at this point anyway, it would mean that we would get one of those opening slots, which is not bad for us. We like to play as an opener. We don't really care about stardom or being late at night on stage. But that would mean that a lot of people would not just see us. But it's a matter of choice, really. So can't really complain about it. But I think at this point, because we're not so young guys anymore, I guess our dream would be go beyond the borders of Finland to play in other countries. First of all, we never did it before. I mean, we have never done it with Nightside. And secondly, of course, it's interesting to you know meet different people in different countries and all. And I think that would be a great way to spread Nightside's music and all that stuff. Not just limit ourselves in Finland. But I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter whether we play in Finland or outside Finland. A good show is a good show, and a good audience is a good audience. Doesn't matter what the language, what the location is. So there are always, pros and cons wherever you play. On the other hand, if you play in Finland for a Finnish band, it's easier to just get on the spot, do your show, and then fuck off. On the other hand, if you go outside Finland, outside your home country, you get to see a little bit different, hear different languages and meet different people and all that stuff. But it's a lot of traveling. So once again, pros and cons depending how you feel about it. Bestial Adoration is asking me my favorite Iron Man record. Not really the topic for Nightside, so I'm just gonna skip it for the time being. Hello, Hugin. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's sad that I'm right about the age. I just think that it is a neutral thing. I mean, when you get older, there are pros and cons, like in every possible thing in the world. So there's that. Yes, Gerald, Dark Throne, still my favorite black metal band of all time. Um, what else? Fry your vocal cords for satin. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of um, material you need to. Yeah, Nightside Global Tour 2024. That would be fun. No, seriously, I think a longer tour wouldn't be possible for many reasons. I don't know if a lot of us would even want to do a longer tour. More like a gig here or there or some kind of a mini tours. I think they would be more suitable for us. But who knows how things will unfold next year, especially with the new album and everything else. Oh, and by the way, SK and Natrate and others, welcome to the stream. It's nice to have you here. Hello, Gio from Athens. And hello, Alex Rose. Long time no speak. Um, thanks, Lior, for your comment that you like the comeback. Yeah, I am very, very confident at Nightside at this point. I mean, I was never exactly nothing but confident about Nightside, but when we had our first run from 1996 to roughly 2002 when I left the band, Nightside had a lot of lineup issues. And back in the days, it always felt like one step forward, one step back. So whatever you kind of started the engine rolling and you were ready to, do new songs, do a gig here and there, you would have, say, a guitarist or bass player or someone leave the band. And it was always like, okay, we are kind of ready to do more, we're ready to do new songs. And then somebody would leave the band and someone else would replace this person. And those who have ever had band of their own definitely know what it's like. It's like a family or even relationship with multiple people. So first and foremost, in my opinion, anyway, and I know a lot of people will agree with me on this, but I don't know if everybody will definitely agree because they're different kind of bands. Some might just be like a captain of the ship, and the rest are just mercenaries playing what the hell this captain wants. But for a lot of us, who are not having a professional bands, a career band or whatever, it is much like a relationship of multiple people. And that means you have to have the chemistry. So it doesn't really help or matter that much like, hey, okay, this dude is a perfect guitar player. He knows all the songs forward and backward or fucking inverted guitars or whatever. If he's an asshole. If you have people in your band who you really don't connect, it's not going to end well. It's not going to work. So chemistry always comes first. In my opinion, anyway, you kind of have to be pals with your band members. Not necessarily the kind of, hey, this dude could be my best man at my wedding or vice versa. But you kind of have to share the sense of humor and I guess certain values, not necessarily like 100% compatible with the ideologies and stuff, but a lot of things have to click. Like we've had some of those people in the bands who were not really black metal people to begin with. That alone might not have been a problem. But once you have some kind of egos clashing, or more importantly, lack of interest for whatever you're doing in a band, it's not going to work. So it doesn't matter how good a guitar player, vocalist, drummer, who knows what you are, in case you are not really into the music or into the guys. I mean, if you fight constantly, if you argue about this and that, and you cannot even set a date for rehearsal, obviously your band is not going to fly. So it's all about, in my opinion, some kind of a camaraderie, friendship in a way. And like I said, it doesn't have to be super closely bonding kind of a relationship with the bands. It's not like they're like your brothers in arms. It helps. It helps if you're like a unified group, like these are the guys I could die for. It helps, but it doesn't have to go that far. Uh, but if they're the kind of people you're not really to spend your free time with, I don't think it's going to work. Especially when you get older and you start realizing certain realities in your life. Now, when you're in your teens or 20s early 20s especially, it's easier to just kind of a turn a blind eye. It's easier to ignore these things and say, like, if we have a band, yeah, let's go. Let's do a gig. Let's do some shows. But once the reality hits in, it kind of emphasizes the relationship metaphor I was talking about. Because once you're like in going to a studio and you're already like, I hate that motherfucker. I cannot stand his or her humor or whatever, or he's annoying me constantly. That's when you kind of like realize either it's that person or you out of the band or something has to change. And I would imagine it would be only worse if you're on a tour doing one gig, maybe one night off or a couple of nights off. You probably can handle it. You can just take a little bit distance, play the gig, and just like not hang out with that particular person. But the more and more you spend time together, it kind of gives you this feeling like it's not going to last. So, in a lot of ways, there has to be this kind of a camaraderie, this kind of a feeling like these are my brothers, these are the people I want to spend my time with. And it was Shadraugov Horna once upon a time who said something very smart, in my opinion, that it's only this 1 hour of the whole 24 hours that makes it all worthwhile, doing gigs, doing tours, whatever, because the rest might be shit. So this 1 hour alone will kind of make it worthwhile. So this alone should tell you a lot of what I'm talking about here. If the rest of those 23 hours is just shit and you cannot, stand with your guys, I think that thing is not going to fly. All right, once again, if you want to ask me questions, tag me for Nightside because I know that a lot of you will be discussing with one another. So when you're asking me a question, tag Rauta and I will see it highlighted on the chat. Otherwise, I might be just missing the question. Benji is asking a really good question. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. I am always amused when I'm doing a Rauta interview and somebody says, "Yeah, that's a really good question." I like those. And it gets kind of complimentary, nice compliment, not complimentary thing. But there is a lot of basic questions and they're good ones. But this is really good. This I'm gonna read it for you. Have you ever changed certain lyrics in a live setting? Yeah. Sometimes you just might forget something really like what the fuck it was, and you have to improvise. So yeah. Sometimes you just might want to toss a little bit different because live setting is, well, it's one of a kind. Even if you do certain songs always in the same order and all that stuff, um, something in the live environment might make feel like, okay, I'm going to address this and that one, like live speeches. Now, some people don't like live speeches and they think live speech parts are not, thing in black metal. No, this is maybe an old school take, maybe a boomer take, if you will. But being a fan of a lot of old bands which had something interesting to say, like make a statement just for this audience, or because it's fitting the mood, or maybe you remember something that wasn't present there the day before, you might do something. And this could really be in the lyrics as well. Sometimes you just want to go with the flow. I remember once upon a time, this is not related to Nightside so much, but we did this one gig of with Annihilatus, and I decided to go a little bit German with the lyrics. So I just added some lines there and basically replaced some of the English sentence with a little bit German, and it felt like fun thing to do. There was no deeper intention or idea behind it. It was just something on the spot. And about live speeches, with the first comeback gig we did, what it was over a year ago now, there wasn't really much of a live speech thing. But like I said, coming from this background when bands like Slayer or Iron Maiden, whatever, would do some kind of a commentary between the songs, like, okay, this song is about this and that, or you might be vouching like, hey, total like atheism take here, or fuck your Christianity or whatever. I sometimes might feel like these are the things I want to include. So it might reflected in the lyrics as well. Probably not so much as those improvised live speech parts, but yeah, I really think that album is a one thing, and those songs really they are the one thing, and live environment is totally different. So sometimes you might just switch to something different on the spot. It probably didn't anything radical like wow that's so different kind of thing, but something like a detail like maybe something that I'm like a fan would notice. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like, why not? You are the master on stage and you can decide how it goes. Much like a guitarist could decide, like, I'm going to play this solo a little bit different than it's usually do. Or maybe the drummer will do a little bit different drum feel for the part because he just feels like that. Maybe you will lose a drumstick and you kind of have to improve. Same thing with vocals. Maybe something goes a little bit off. You miss a note, maybe like a little bit late. Maybe you're going faster than the guitar players, and you're like, okay, this needs to be extended. Like instead of wah, you're kind of like wah. You know what I mean? Maybe you will add some lyrics to it, maybe not. So I can't really say this on behalf of other vocalists, obviously, but I think it's much like with stand-up comedy as well. You really can improvise on the spot if it feels right. It comes from the heart. It's probably totally subconscious, but yeah, definitely. All right, reading your comments. I'm trying to pick out the questions here. So let's see. Oscar is asking, have I ever thought about going to down to the Black Sun Festival in Germany? Yeah, but never made serious thoughts about it. So, yeah, no real plans anyway. Mm. Gregory, yeah, I think one man projects exist for various reasons. But I don't think one man projects never have the same feeling, same charge than real bands. They are easier to manage for obvious reason. But for example, um, when you really have more than one mind putting the energy in creating a song, like one guy maybe doing the lyrics, someone else doing the guitar parts, somebody maybe adding keyboards, and one guy doing the drums, and they all are communicating with one another. Like, okay, let's hone this song. That is, in my opinion, way more magical than one guy just doing everything. Another thing which in my plays a very critical role in terms of honing a song is that when you have your other band members, uh, you can really kind of toss around ideas, and you can really like push them a little bit more forward. And by this I mean sometimes you might have an idea, let's say a melody. You're like, okay, this melody goes like do 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 do, and someone else would be like, nope, that's not good enough. We need to fix something. We need to change a note here. We need to do something about it. It's kind of a good, not good enough. And sometimes all you need is that kind of a feedback from a band member. And one man band, they don't have it. Really, are you gonna like, okay, I wrote this song. Hello, girlfriend, right there. Could you do me a favor and listen to this song? And the girlfriend was like, nope, I'm doing mashed potatoes, you dumb what. So, so I'm not gonna comment on your song in the middle of night. What the fuck? I'm watching, Netflix. So go do your business with the recording and all that stuff. Can you really call your mom? I made this majestic in the Nightside Eclipse worship version. Mama, can you come in? And Mama's like, no, darling, as much as I love you, I won't be listening to your music. It's horrible. So one man bands, they're kind of imprisoned by their own solo mind thing. Obviously, there are lots of good one man projects. It always comes down to this one Norwegian one with Vari Vikernes. But even he has made a lot of crappy songs. So it's not like, hey, automatically, when you have a creative mind of a genius and suddenly you're like, wow, all these songs are good. It doesn't work like that. I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but once I read about the Polish band MGLA, that is, in case you're not understanding what I'm saying here, once upon a time I read some kind of a comment that the guitarist guy would bring a lot of new riffs and song ideas to the rehearsal room or whatever, and the drummer would like say 90% of the songs, nope, 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 nope. And that's how they would hone or select the best ideas, which would then end up on an album. And in my opinion, this kind of a process is very, very important. Now, obviously, I'm not that critical, even though my reviews might say one thing or two, but I'm not wouldn't say I turned down 90%. More like I turned probably down like 10% initially because I want to see how they would evolve. It's not like when a guitarist like brings a couple of new riffs to the rehearsal place and like, okay, this goes like this and that. Okay, maybe like a little that and that. And then it's like, wow, done. Okay, let's move on. It's more like, yeah, let's try it out in different ways. Maybe add drums. Should it go with blast beat? Should it be some kind of a more mid-tempo part? What about when you ask bass? Whatever the bass is doing, you need to think about that. Where would the vocals fit? So sometimes even a mediocre idea would sound better when the whole band is playing. You're like, okay, now it sounds better. Or maybe you'll do a little bit minor changes here and there. And sometimes it doesn't matter how good of an idea is if it doesn't fit all the other parts. You might have like, this is a perfect way to start a song. What a great start. And then like, okay, how it's going to continue from that. And everybody's like, oh, I don't know. Me neither. And then you're like, okay, let's store it for a while. Let's rediscover it later on. So in my opinion, it definitely is very, very important that you have this kind of communication in a band. And I think it's a very vital part. Like I was saying, in my opinion, band definitely need that kind of a chemistry going on. And you need that kind of communication. Like if some part of the song doesn't work, you have to be able to explain why it doesn't work or what needs to be fixed in order to make it work, possibly. So yeah, a lot of different ways to do music and play in a band, and some bands are just like one man operation with lots of mercenaries around, and one guy gets to boss the others around. I'm not saying it's a wrong kind of a thing, but more like, what if this captain of a ship is wrong? Maybe he has all the bad ideas, and the rest of the guys would have better ideas. So it's definitely worth listening to the other guys or gals in the band and see how it goes. Um, is it like he's asking, have I seen Martys in Steelfest? No, I think Marty got lost at Steelfest. But I'm sure he will be back with some other festival. Uh, yeah, maybe Marty had a fist fight indeed. Um, Hello, Brett. Brett is asking here, is it true the first album will be repressed on vinyl along with the new album when it comes out? Um, I don't know what's the story now with the vinyl version of The End of Christianity. Goatworks made it a kind of a small print run with the vinyl, and it was sold out immediately. In my opinion, the print run was too small to begin with. It should have been more than what it was, 200 copies. So I hope it will be, at least the CD version will be out there at some point. Will it be with the new album or before? I don't yet know, but I'm trying to make sure that the LP version also gets a new chance. Goddamn, this image is grainy because it's kind of getting dark. Um, it's like I really can't say I'm totally aware what Vikernes has been saying about this degeneracy and modern men are weak, um, immoral. Now that is a topic which depends on the people being asked. Some might say all people have too high moral. Some would say everybody has too low moral. Whatever. Um, it sounds silly to me, really. And how people are weak. I think people are as weak or strong as the surrounding kind of a requires them to be, for the lack of better words. Um, yeah, not right. I mean, those mom riffs, they could suck. Hello, Brymons. Yeah, not too late for the stream. Just 40 minutes in and some basic questions. So, guys, is there anything I can answer Nightside for you, or shall I go drinking beer and playing video games? I don't know, or doing Rauta videos. Just ask me anything. This is all about you guys as much as it is about me. And in case you don't have any questions, we can wrap up things early. I don't mind that. But I'm here for you, so let me know what I can do for you in terms of questions. But the current state of things is kind of a very simple in a ways that we're doing songs. We don't have yet any gigs booked, not for 2023. That is, there are some possibilities that we will have a few shows before the end of the year, but nothing is yet fully agreed. So at this point, I would say our next confirmed gig is end of February in my home city at Turku Saatanalla event. That is the only one we have announced yet. But basically, Nightside is at this point in a very, very good positions. So let me put it this way: if somebody wants to book us for a gig, we'll probably come. And if nobody is booking a gig for us, it's okay because we're doing a new album anyway. So we're in a win-win situation at this moment because if we have more time to write new songs and rehearse them and just fix them, make them better, that is a good thing. If we have some gigs, well, it will make sure that we will be better live shape. And of course, then we can actually test those new songs, how they perform live, like we did last December before, recording this new demo. The thing is, we brought those three new songs to a live setting, and before they were even recorded, we wanted to play them and kind of a feel out how it's going to sound, how it feels for us. And of course, when you're preparing for a show and you rehearse those songs, you end up playing them a little bit more tight. That is, of course, a good news when it comes to when you go recording them, because if you can play them on stage, you can play them in a studio, but that doesn't mean that you can play them live well, even if you can do a studio, because it's at studio you can always like, okay, let me retake that riff, that wasn't tight enough. But you cannot have that option on stage. You cannot like play, okay, let's restart, this wasn't as good as it's supposed to be. So yeah, playing new songs among the old ones is fun thing to do, and I think it really helps the band, get shape up, so to say. No, Benji, I really haven't met any musicians that were too dogmatic songwriting performance. One of the really good things with Nightside has always been that the guys I played in a band with, they have always been pretty chill in terms of songwriting, playing live, and in general being bandmates. I really can't say much like we've had this and that asshole, blah blah blah, because most of the guys anyway were really really good guys in general, and they didn't have any big issues, in those terms. But it was more like, okay, these guys probably didn't find how to say it. I'll try again. They were maybe in a wrong band. Like if you're ever a death metal dude playing black metal, it might feel a little bit forced. Um, but having too dogmatic approach to doing that music, no, I really don't think so. So I think overall we've been quite lucky in that sense that we didn't have any extreme weirdos or anything like that in a band. And in that sense, the chemistry always was there. But like I said, maybe all the guys were not that much, black metal people, if you can say that. Sometimes people like don't really seem to understand it. Like when we say there are genre tourists, and some people are like, "Hey, that's offending." Like, what does it even mean? It really means that you know. Let's say you want to have a death metal band, and one member just joins the band because he just wants to play in a band, maybe get experience or something else, and that guy might not be dedicated to that given style. So eventually he's going to leave the band. If that's the story. For example, I was in a band in around 1995, 1996, which wasn't really my cup of tea. I just joined the band back in the days because my old band has ceased to exist. I lived in a different city, and this friend of mine who was a drummer of the band kind of asked me to join or something like that. I don't remember the exact details. But anyway, I joined the band. Musically, it wasn't my thing. I really even didn't know the other guys apart from the drummer, but we got along. But eventually, I got booted from the band. They said that I wasn't enough, practicing and all that stuff. I wasn't rehearsing enough, and I didn't feel it was like that. But then again, I wasn't really sorry about being booted because the music wasn't really my cup of tea. But it was a good learning experience, and it was nice to have some sort of band at that time when I didn't have anything else going on in the band department. But yeah, one could say I was a tourist in that band because it was kind of a weird rock hybrid, rock metal hardcore-ish kind of combination. I don't really remember the songs that well. I could really say like this is the genre. But yeah, in hindsight, one could say I was a tourist in that band. It wasn't the kind of stuff that I was enthusiastic about. It wasn't my passion thing, but it was fun while it lasted. So one could even say, in a metaphorical way, so you could say there are bands which are passion projects, the ones that are like relationship that you're really invested, you're like in love with the given band. You're like much like you would be in love with your, I don't know, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. And then there are bands you just kind of hang out with, the kind of a like one night stands or friends with benefits kind of a thing. Like you only want something out of it, but you're not going to marry this one. And I would say these are two different kind of bands. The one is something that you're probably gonna just drop off once you find something more interesting, because it's not really something that comes out of your heart and all that stuff. It's not something that you will sacrifice things for because it's not that important for you. And then there are those passion projects. It's something that you can totally like dedicate yourself into. Now, having multiple bands and trying to dedicate yourself in all of those different projects, that's when it gets complicated. It's almost like trying to seriously date more than one person during one time. And some band members don't really seem to get it, but there's always more or less the one above others. Sometimes when I, for example, do these interviews and I'm asking like, so what is your main project? What is your main band apart from side projects? Some band people are like, yeah, but there is no one. But the thing here is, you really can't put 100% in multiple bands. Maybe you divide it in 50-50 and say it's 100%, but that's just bad mathematics. Um, what I'm saying here is sometimes you shift your priorities. Like this older band might be your priority as long as things go really smooth. And then it might go on a little bit hiatus when the secondary band or tertiary band comes, rises up and becomes the main focus. But they really can't be main focus at the same time. And band people who have really big bands, I'm talking like bands like Nightwish, Iron Maiden, Rammstein, whatever, that's where you really kind of figure it out. You can't really have a world tour with multiple bands. Surely you are gonna have lots of rehearsal room bands. There's gonna have studio projects. You have like a dozen of them, and say, yeah, they're all equally important. But let's be honest about it. Once you don't tour, once you don't active pursue some kind of a career, for the lack of better word, obviously they're just hobby projects. So as much as these guys might be denying, like there is no one band, either they're subconsciously lying or they're not aware of the fact that you really can't have like more than one really really good focus things. Have as many hobbies as you want, but you can probably have only one day job, like one home basically. Like the other parts are just summer homes or whatever. Same thing with the bands, unless you're some kind of a weird ass millionaire with some, I don't know, 48-hour days, and you can just like fuck around with a lot of time in your hands, and you can say like all these 12 $1 million cars are equal to me. You're probably not just fully honest about it, like what one being the ones being all equal and all that stuff. Usually people have one main focus and that's it. um what else you have? Nightside questions. um Oh yeah, Brady's asking a question about the vinyl repress. Yeah, let's hope for it. And I think we're in a good terms with the label. There's good connection and communications happening. So I mean, why wouldn't the label be interested in putting out a little bit of vinyl repress? Because I don't think it's a big financial risk anyway, and people want their vinyl. But I'm guessing when the new album comes out, it makes more sense. Um, Another question about the production of the new material. Um, it came naturally. At this point, we're kind of veterans of the scene, so to say. And for example, our drummer has had so many bands over the years. He knows probably exactly what he wants. Then again, he's also flexible. So it's not like there has to be exactly this and that kind of a snare sound or bass drum sound or whatever. And for example, when he's playing drums with Cryptomok, who has been in many various bands and doing producing and all that stuff. And the funny thing is, Cryptomok guy is also ex-vocalist of Nightside, so there's a strong connection to Cryptomok. So he knows how Nightside is supposed to sound. I'm not saying he's our own Eric Rutten. I mean, what he was to Cannibal Corpse before joining the actual ranks of the band. But I'm saying he kind of understands what we're supposed to sound like, and he understands where Nightside is coming from, because we befriended him already in the late 90s. So we've known this guy for a long time. He understands the 1990s vibe we need to have with the band. He understands what kind of production we're looking for. He understands the music as a songwriter, but also a recording guy and a little bit production. I mean, he would say like, okay, maybe you need to change this and that, or have you considered adding this or that, or maybe removing or adding this and that. And it might be, by this and that, I mean, it could be like, okay, should we add some vocals here? Should we add some keyboards there? The kind of a thing. So when you're working with the guy who comes from the very same scene, has similar background and somewhat similar, background also with different bands, understands the kind of a era what we're talking about, understands the given style, and who is a friend of yours, it gets easier. But say if we were going to some studio with a person we have never talked to, who knows how well or bad it might go. So I think it's very important, especially at this stage. We're not a big band. We're not a Vatine. We're not Immortal. We're not fucking Mayhem. So at this point, I think it's very, very important that we have a guy recording our stuff who understands what 1990s style of black metal is, supposed to sound like, if you can call it that. And person who is able to just adapt if we want something else. So our production was, in my opinion, very easy. The basic sound, the default what we had here in the background. Fine tunings is something else, but the basic idea, how we're supposed to sound like, that was pretty just out of the box, so to say. Yes, Nader. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, GoldWorks had a lot the print very limited, but I was just hoping it was not that limited because it was sold out. The vinyl, I mean, before even we, the band, actually got our own copies, so it was bad. So I don't know. I mean, it would have been probably more cost efficient to have a little bit bigger print run rather than just do 200 copies. But what do I know? Just me guessing. Hello, Cecilia Taylor. Yeah, yeah, you're not you're not missing the stream. I'm gonna be here as long as it needs to be with the night chat questions, and also welcome to the stream. Gerald, it's called a demo because it is indeed a demo. Um, we recorded this demo, 3 songs, to show what Nightside is all about in year 2022. And with this demo, we sent it to various labels. Like, okay, this is the kind of material we're working on, and this is how we sound. And would this spark your interest in order to proceed for full album? And that's the story. I mean, it wasn't intended as some kind of a MCD. I guess we're kind of a stubborn old school dudes here, doing a demo. So we didn't rush in to do full album straight away and then look for a label. We decided let's do demo like back in the days and see if there's a label who would like to work with us, who would give us a little bit of budget for recording an album. And things went well. So that's why. And that is also a very good question. That was there a specific event which precipitated the band reunion? Yes and no. I guess it's fair to say no, because there was already talk about reunion gig. I think around 2018. I don't remember if before that there was any talks about that. I guess this has been kind of an idea that someone somewhere along the time would be like, hey, would it be fun to play a gig? And then the idea would be forgotten, only to resurface later on. But I remember this one talk a few years ago, I would say roughly 2018, when I guess the drummer was planning to do a kind of a reunion show. But I think it was originally meant to be just one show. And think there were lack of communications, like more like one guy having this idea, maybe the others were not so much on board with it, and that idea kind of was forgotten. It wasn't really like thoroughly planned or whatever. So fast forward a few years later, and this idea was suddenly taken more seriously. Like, what if we actually like decided to try out playing those songs? And then we got offered a gig by a friend of us who is part of the Turku Saatanalle crew, the Metalli Helvetti guys, doing those shows. And the plan was that if things would go well, we would just not do one show and then piece off. I mean, some bands do that. They just rehearse for one show and then it's a goner. But we knew that if we were going to do this kind of a reunion, why not take it further than just one show? I mean, if we really love playing together so much, if we really love playing these old songs, why should we stop there, just playing a show or two? Why not go further and make it a full band and start writing new material as well? Especially for me, it was really important. I mean, I was like, why would I just rehearse these songs all over again for just one show? It would take so much time, and the result would be like, yeah, it was fun to play one song, one gig, and then just piss off. because it wouldn't be for the money. It wouldn't be even so much, I don't know, pleasure, I guess. It would have to be something more special. So I figured, at least I can't really say on the behalf of other guys, but it was kind of evident that if we really like this so much, like, let's do more than one show. Let's do more than a couple of shows. Like, kind of a poker terms, all in. Like, let's get proper guys for the lineup who like this kind of music, who understand this kind of music, and let's make it happen. And suddenly we had that lineup. Suddenly we had those new songs, and everybody was like on a new level. But it wasn't one event or even two. It was more like something started to, slowly cook, so to say. But of course, everything starts with one kind of idea. So probably the spark was with one event, maybe around a bar table. And then it started to, you know, get speed. And here we are. Yeah, the devil is mentioning here that me and Hell's Headbanger Justin should do a stream. Yeah, it would be pleasure. Some people have been saying that I should get more in touch with the guy because we have never actually spoke. I don't know, does Hell's Headbanger even know Rauta channel out there in the United States? But yeah, it would be cool because he takes care of some of the Finnish distribution in the United States. We definitely go around the same genres, same kind of bands and all that stuff. So, I mean, why not? And he seems to be a workout dude. So, yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah, Nedred is mentioning that about Justin. I don't. I know he has this label and all that stuff, but I don't know if he's aware of Rauta. It's more like that. But yeah, sure, why not? Call me interested. If somebody wants to put a word for me, that guy, yeah, I'm up for that. Um, yes, Nader, definitely. Nightside is very, very compatible with Purity Through Fire style. Considering that, first of all, Purity does kind of a traditional black metal. Also, a lot of Finnish bands from Purity. I guess there are like a couple of labels outside Finland who are very much specialized in Finnish underground black metal. One is Wolf Spell Records, and one is, of course, Purity Through Fire. One of my friends actually laughed a little bit when I said that Nightside is now signed to Purity Through Fire, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of a trash can for all Finnish bands." But I'm like, "It's good label, does communications well, does promotion, and I know the guy somewhat personally, so why the hell not?" There were other labels offering us some kind of a deal as well, but I think Purity was the most active, and it was also, I mean, quick in terms of answering communications. It matters to me a lot because I am in communicating with a lot of labels because of reviews, because of Rauta channel, and I hate the kind of labels who are hard to get answers from. So if there's something like, yeah, I don't know, or it takes a lot of time to get those replies, I'm not necessarily interested. So I need a label that is actually interested in the band, not just like, okay, let's just add one for the roster. And he genuinely seemed to, I refer to the Purity Through Fire guy, he was genuinely interested in the band. Like, I was listening to your demo many, many times. It seems to only get better. This is what we are looking for. I don't expect the labels to be the biggest fans of the given band, but I mean, if you really don't like it, why bother, signing up for the band? And thank you, SK, once again for your donation. For Rauta, this goes to our traveling budget. We actually today just agreed with my camera crew that from now on, all these YouTube advertising money we get from from YouTube. Well, for ads on the videos, it will be saved for the traveling budget. So let's hope that the year 2024 will be a little bit better in terms of traveling for Rauta. But thumbs up. Brian Mons is asking, how would you honestly rate the Lions demo on your own standards? I would say it's somewhere between 8 and 8.5 out of 10. Is it perfect? Nowhere near. Is it really good in my opinion? Is it something that I could, listen to if it wasn't my own band? Definitely. Um, I like so many things with this demo, but there's like a one minor flaw which I think is rather evident, and there's not enough variation. All the songs are fast tempo and aggressive, so this is something that some other people have also pointed out, and yeah, we're totally aware of it. We cannot have some 40 minutes of an album that has like say 12, 13 tracks doing exactly the same. It's not like we're after some kind of a Finnish version of Panzer Division Martyr. So that is something that I think is a minus. But am I happy with the production? Yeah, very much so. Am I happy with my own vocal performance? I think it's probably the best I've done. Maybe with some annihilated stuff, but definitely better than the previous Nightside vocals. Am I happy with the songwriting and other parts which I would see removed? No. So in general, I would say yeah, it's a really good demo. I'm not going to say it's the best of the pile or anything like that. That kind of bullshit. But yeah, it's in my opinion the kind of black metal I want to play. That's something kind of a black metal I like to listen to, something that I want to perform. So yeah, I'm really really happy with that. But I wouldn't give it a 9 out of 10. If you're asking my review score, I guess maybe 8.5, something like that. Yeah. Benji, the cover of Lions is done by our friend Hale Gorth, who just happens to be a really good friend of our bass player and the rhythm guitarist. I also know the guy. He's a very, very talented graphics guy, having done a lot of logos, cover art, whatever. And we knew he would understand where Nightside is coming from. He's the same era, same scene as us, living in Finland and all that stuff, just different city. And being a pal of us made it easier for us to communicate with him. Like, okay, we need this kind of lyrics. I mean, we need to have these lyrics about lions, about Christians getting eaten by lions and being fed to the beasts. Like, draw something out of it. He instantly was like, okay, I'm gonna draw you something for the lyrics, which then is the most evident lyrical topics on the demo. I mean, the others would have harder time to, in my opinion, to be drawn as a cover. For example, Gates of Hell, it's at the same time very, very metaphorical sense. What kind of gates you would draw for hell if you're an illustrator? I don't think that would be very, very easy task. I mean, we could really say, no, those are not that kind of gates we're talking about. So it's not very easy to topic or lyrics to put on a cover art. Dawn also, same kind of thing, since it's so much apocalyptic theme. Like you could visualize it so many different ways. Like when it's evident that there won't be another dawn, like world is going to an end. Like what kind of apocalyptic visions you could do. Like lots of good ways to do it, but also lots of ways how you would ruin it. Whereas lions is pretty evident. You just let those lions roar, or let them loose in an arena environment, and you have those Christian people like they're like, oh, we're going to die. That's what you have. So I think it's right to the point. It reflects our interest to a certain degree in history, but also it gets right to the point. Like you don't really have to explain what's going on the cover. They're lions going to kill this guy. So it's kind of about violence, it's about punishment, it's about our values. We don't really treat Christianity or religions in a very friendly ways. So I think it kind of shows what Nightside is all about, and our religious band. So, in my opinion, very much straight to the point and some vaguely illustrated idea for a cover. Like you've probably seen a lot of cool cover arts, but you don't really know what they're all about. Like, what is this supposed to be? A world ending? Some atmospheric environment somewhere? Is this another planet? You know what I'm talking about? Or then you have some cool art like Sepultura's Rise. And you're like, what the fuck is this? It looks nice, but what the hell it is? So sometimes simple is better. Think of Metallica Kill 'Em All. You have some blood, and you have a tool to make that blood come out of somebody's skull. And when you have a title like Kill 'Em All, and you're like, it's right there, it's beautiful, simple. All right, the lightning for that matter. An electric chair and lightning going into different directions. You're like, okay, this is about death sentence. This is about brutality and ending of life. But then there are also a lot of pointless cover art, which is not pretty sight to look at. So I don't want that. Obviously, as a review guy, this is very, very important for me. Like, first of all, you have to have a title for any kind of release that makes a lot of sense. There are lots of albums, demos, and whatever which have horrible titles, and by horrible I mean they don't really make any kind of sense. They don't send a message. They don't pick my interest. I don't want to do that. And also, then there are lots of covers which are just but ugly, or they don't have any kind of a story. I could pick some albums right here on my table and show you. For example, this album, this Blood Daughter, which I'm currently reviewing. I will make look at this cover. It's very boring. It just says Blood Daughter, the logo and the album name. Doesn't really do a thing. I mean, old Gorgoroth albums were kind of a simplistic as well, but at least they had the inverted cross on the cover, so they were right to the point. We're an anti-Christian band. This is what we do. So yeah, for me, there has to be some kind of a point, whatever you have as a cover and as a name. Lions, some might make a joke. Yeah, it's just a children's animal book. Yeah, make it a joke. It doesn't ruin the album name anyway. So I think those things are very, very important. I think band and release as a whole. So it's way more than just songs, lyrics, songwriting, cover art, album or demo title, whatever. It all is connected. Okay, long ramble once again, but I wanted to get that straight. All right, what else? Do you have more questions? Hello, Artur. How are you doing, man? Naturally, yeah, I posted some kind of a picture of a ex Nightside rehearsal room, and yeah, Lions was recorded at our ex rehearsal room. Now we're in a different place. The guys moved house while I was in Spain. Me, I was just being lazy, and the other guys just changed to a better place now. So now we have a better place, which is also cheaper, closer to me. It's a win-win-win. Thank you, Cecilia. I try to be this trustworthy guy, and I try to be this guy who doesn't waste band's time when I'm doing those stuff. So, in one sense, though, I guess those bands I'm interviewing, they should probably know my own background with bands and all, so they know I'm not just a fanboy. I'm not just some random metal journalist. That I have had my own bands in the past and present. That I have a long history with the band. Sometimes I'm a lot older than a lot of those band guys, and sometimes they know it. Sometimes they probably don't. But when I'm doing interviews, obviously I don't keep advertising too much. Like, what I am doing, because it's not about me, it's about them. But yeah, I guess experience should show, and it's supposed to be a relaxed setting when those interviews are done. Yes, Brian, once I get 3 songs is a little bit too little to begin with. But like I said, the demo is supposed to be only a taster. Like I said, that wasn't originally even meant to be released like that. But since the label was so happy about it, and we were like, what do we got to lose if we release it? So yeah, we decided to go that way. But yeah, please be patient, and I think you shall be rewarded. Hello to Yaroslav. Skald rings a bell, but no. But let's focus with this stream on Nightside, and the next stream, which should be out in a few weeks. Let's talk more about in general stuff related to Rauta. Um, yeah, not read. The End of Christianity album cover didn't age well. I guess it's in so many ways kind of a typical cover and cover style, art style that felt like a fresh thing back in the days. And in a way, it's very cheesy. Yeah, I get it. And I wouldn't explain. I mean, except anything else, but honesty about it. Uh, I have no regrets about the cover, and think the point is still right there. It's all about like, let's just make this church tower burn. In a way, there's kind of a similar vibe when I think in hindsight about the End of Christianity cover. In a way, it's Nightside's own version of what Marduk had with Heaven Shall Burn. I mean, come on, there are like orcs and goblins on that cover, and I wouldn't say it's a great album cover. I mean, I kind of like it because it's so goofy and role playing game like, but is it a good album cover? Heaven Shall Burn? No fucking way. So I think our cover is in the same ways. It's kind of like paying homage to very naive style and all that stuff. And we really probably didn't think it through that much. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a sign of its time, much like the horrible Iron Maiden cover with what it was, Dance of Death. I mean, it's a horrible cover, but the album is good. So in the end, it doesn't matter. But yeah, of course, if we would do it today, the album cover would be totally different. So yeah, all these covers have a story. Devil, we will not discuss my favorite pick so far, but that will be the next stream. So let's talk about that. And yeah, Cannibal Corpse cover are the good ones. What else? Um, did we record Nightside stuff drunk or sober at Tico Tico? Yeah, it was done sober. I think even though we were young guys, we wanted to do the things proper ways already back in 1997 when the demo was recorded. We didn't travel all the way to Kemi, which is some 10 hours drive from here, to just fuck around. So obviously we did those recordings very, very sober. I don't think we ever had a lot of booze with any kind of a studio. Nightside has never been a much of a boozing band. Of course, after gigs, it's different story. But before, and especially recording, nope. And yeah, Brian Mons, yeah, those are just examples of bad covers. There are so many bad covers around the world, and I guess a lot of bands would just redo it. But like I said, we have to remember that whatever is done with covers or movies that respect, they are, kind of a science of those given times. So obviously, what do you think about later on in certain stuff? It's different, but one really shouldn't um, just, I don't know, ruined the past so many ways. For example, I mean, think about the early Satyricon cover, first Satyricon album, Dark Medieval Times, horrible. Or the one Necromantia album, which like is poor man version of Dungeons and Dragons. Same thing with Burzum album, Det som en gång var. Also, um, another a Dungeons and Dragons remake, but just horrible one compared to the original ones. So yeah, back in the days, spans when they didn't have a budget or maybe understanding either, did horrible choices, and I think Nightside made its own horrible choice in a way. But it is what it is. There's no there's no more excuse for that. Brian, if Nightside was to do a split with another Finnish band, what would it be choosing? That's kind of a hard for me to answer right on the spot because obviously these kind of decision would have to be made with all the band guys, in my opinion. And now that I'm older, I would be a lot more pickier than if it was a younger version of myself. Like, I think I would go even further, not just like, hey, these are good guys, let's do a split, or like, they are our friends, let's do a split. Now I would, I guess, assume more like that the whole band would have to be aligned with Nightside doing. I'll use this goofy example. So if there was like a, I don't know, a black metal band sounding good and all that stuff, but they would be some flat earth theorists, I don't think we would do a Nightside split with that kind of stuff because it would put us in a wrong company in a way. Nor we would do, I think, ever a split with, say, some NSBM band because Nightside is definitely not a political band, and we don't have those kind of lyrics that would feel like it's compatible. So if you ask me to give an answer to that right on this very spot, I would say we would not do a split. It would really need to be some kind of band we would have a connection with, I would say. So currently, I don't know. There are probably a lot of good bands that, given more time, I would say, yeah, this or that or those guys could be compatible with us, but it's not something that I would just, you know, do spontaneously. Well, yeah, both thrower covers are great. I mean, everything else except the first one, the debut album, In the Battle There's No Law, that's kind of a cheap budget version. So I wouldn't call that one a great one, but I mean, all the other both thrower ones are good. Um, Heaven Shall Burn. I don't think that it's a good cover. I mean, it's not ugly either, but it's kind of a cheesy. Yeah. So, like I said, embrace the cheese. Um, who would I like to do the next Nightside album cover? In a way, I think it should be done with Helgorth, who did the Lions cover. First of all, like I said, he's a friend of ours. And secondly, I kind of want to give more credit to people who we're happy to work with. I mean, not only because he's a friend, obviously, but because we're satisfied with what he did with Lions. So in that respect, he would be one of the top choices. Also, Ronnie Adling from Lying Ruins, who is also the tattoo artist, um, who did the reversion, the LP version of The End of Christianity and a bunch of other ones like oil paintings and all that stuff. He would be definitely one of those top three choices for an album cover. But if I could pick it like that, something really wild, I would probably sit on that idea for a while. But I would probably go for something very very classic. I mean, like David Seagrave, who did a lot of death metal covers back in the days, especially. It could be something like that. Then it could be also photography, but I don't know. Somehow I'm a little bit against doing a photography cover. I mean, there are lots of classic black metal albums with some okay. I'm not gonna say great photography, but I don't know. It also makes me think that a lot of those ideas which seemed cool back in the days wouldn't really do the justice at today, in a world of today. A lot of those kind of, let's take a nature picture, like there's woods and sun going down and whatever. With Nightside, I think I should be more on the darker scale of things, and you really can't take that many good night photos. So I don't know. In a way, one way or another, I also think that something very more much like Necro Lord. I mean, think of Dissection, Storm of the Lightsbane, and stuff like that. Could be really cool. But then I also feel like maybe that kind of art is not fitting for Nightside. So many ideas to do it wrong. So few ideas to do it right. Yes, Cecilia Taylor, we have to understand a lot of those black metal covers back in the days. They were very, very much limited because of lack of budget. Also limited because, young guys doing their albums probably so excited to get an album out that those album covers, they didn't even mean that much. Also, I think that some of these album covers are kind of you know, not terrible, but let's be honest about it. Not so good because we weren't so critical in our teens. And nowadays, like if I'm talking about, for example, that Satyricon debut album cover or that Burzum that some var, there's kind of a nostalgia. Like some people might be saying, like, yeah, Dark Medieval Times cover is just good because it's kind of so crappy and it takes us back like visually. It's like visually, like it's almost like seeing you like a place of your childhood. You have good memories, even if the neighborhood was totally shitty. So I'll try using another metaphor. Say your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend actually is quite ugly, but because once upon a time you had feelings for this person, you might think, like, yeah, but he or she was kind of cute back in the days. But nowadays you would be like, no, I wouldn't marry that kind of a guy or gal. I wouldn't go even on a date. So that is how time changes us. Our experience changes. I'm gonna mention this briefly, not so much Nightside related, but that I've been watching lately a lot of old James Bond movies. They haven't really dated very well. I mean, some parts are like, oh my god, oh my goodness. I'm not gonna say I'm a god because I don't believe God exists. But as expression, I'm like, oh shit, really? They don't look that good anymore. Even if the movie was highly entertaining, you might say, yeah, but that kind of looks like crap. So you kind of forget it or forgive it also because that was, the limitations of back in the days. Like I said, budget, skill, whatever. But if a new album would be coming out with, say, something like Dark Medieval Times, I don't think a lot of people would be saying, yeah, it's a great art. So nostalgia might play quite a big of a role with those kind of album covers. Thank you, Nocturne. Rauta indeed, 6 years old last weekend, and that's the stuff. Sir Thomas, nothing has really happened to Annihilatus. Third album is still mostly finished. But the other part of the band, the drummer, he has been busy for past couple of years. So Annihilatus is, for that reason, a little bit on hiatus. I would like to finish the third album and get it done and out, but it depends so much, on my drummer, like what will be. So there's that. And I guess YouTube will roll in a advertisement right now. Alrighty. What else? Yeah, Immortal covers, kind of a cheesy as well. Um, Zeros indeed added a layer of interesting stuff. I mean, think of Transylvanian Hunger and all that stuff, and it worked. But if a lot of bands would now copy the idea of doing that kind of a similar Xerox copied ideas, it would just seem like a copy. So that's the thing. And for example, talking about Dark Throne, for example, what they did with Eternal Hails, I think the cover is beautiful, but that's not an original cover for Dark Throne. I remember that particular image used on Eternal Hails from 1970s sci-fi book. Well, not purely sci-fi, but I mean it was about space travel and all that stuff. I had that book when I was a kid, and I loved the art on that book. I mean, spaceships, like how aliens would look like if they attacked planet Earth, how certain spaceships would look like, right out of Star Wars, basically. And that particular image on that Eternal Hell's cover, for example, I think it's really beautiful. But I remember it was something like, this is how sun would look like if seen from on a, I think it was Pluto. So like this was a cave on a planet Pluto. If you don't remember how Eternal Hale's album cover is, it's an interesting cover and I love it. Too bad the album sucks, but that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, sometimes those good ideas are really old ones, like with the Dark Throne one. And then the next Dark Throne album. Don't get me started about Fenris or whatever going on ice skates on a fucking icy lake. Like, no. So there's that. Yeah, Jerry Lamb, you're definitely right about album covers back in the days and all that stuff. So yeah. Battles in the North, yeah, it's kind of bad. That's exactly my point with the photography covers. So yeah, and I don't think Pure Holocaust is much better either. So there's that. Yeah, Benji, I think definitely Nightside could do a compilation album, but or revisited works and all that stuff. But I think all the recorded material is already put out. But there are songs which we did perform live back in the 90s, which were never recorded in the studio. And I don't even know if anybody even remembers those songs. They might be on some rehearsal room tapes. So yeah, there are songs that we never recorded but played live, and then there are songs which we recorded and never played live, like Ad Noctum on the End of Christianity album, for example. We never played it live, but the song was recorded in the studio with, I think, a little bit too little rehearsal time, but it is what it is. Yeah, Edward Goldfinger, banger tone. Um, Jari, that is a really good question once again, because I think we were kind of naive when we signed to Sound Riot. Maybe we're much like a lot of bands back in the days. We just signed up for a label that was interested in us rather than waiting for a better label to find us. So signing to Sound Riot, as far as I can remember, it was kind of a hasty decision. Had we been smarter, had we been more patient, I think we could have found a better label. I don't know, maybe even Northern Heritage or something else could have put out an album, and things could have been done better. But then again, it's not like Sound Riot ripped us off. For example, I recently read on one of the Rauta comments, like Nidhogg came to tell that Iliar Nidhogg material was ripped off by Osmos Records. And Osmos is supposed to be one of those trusted labels, working with Enslaved and Inbel Nazarene and a bunch of other longtime cult acts. But sometimes it doesn't matter what kind of a cool band label you are, you still might be ripped off. And sometimes it doesn't matter if you're a small label like Sound Riot, and you still might do your stuff as supposed to do. I mean, we got our royalty albums, and I don't remember we had so much problems with the label as such, except that they failed to include Battlestorm track in the end of the album. I mean, it's listed there, but it never was there. So with the vinyl version by Goatworks, it was added. And of course, we hope that when we get this new CD reissue of the End of Christianity, we will have all the songs that were supposed to be there, because there's an official reissue of the album by, I think, Black Tower Records, and that was never agreed with us. It was just Soundright selling rights to the Black Tower, even though Soundright didn't even have rights. So basically, they ripped off their label, not us. But I mean, those kind of things are just very, very 1990s things to do, or even early 2000s. But yeah, can't really say bad things about Sign Riot on our behalf. But I mean, if we were wiser, if we were, like, I don't know, more experienced, of course, we would have taken a better label. But apart from that, can't really bitch about it. Things went as they went. Annihilator's hiatus. Was that fast enough? Um, yeah, Astral Fortress cover could be a fucking postcard. It's so stupid, so silly. Oh, guys, we've been doing this stream for over 90 minutes. Spit out your last questions, and I'm off. I have so much work to do. I was supposed to show. I got the new box of albums today, and I need to catalog them all of them. So lots of other stuff to do, and Steelfest recap video needs to be uploaded for tomorrow as well. So if you don't have more Nightside questions now, I think we're just gonna be done with the stream tonight, and next Rauta monthly stream maybe out in 2 or 3 weeks, give or take. Oh yeah, not probably in 2 weeks, because there's supposed to be Atlas kick in 2 weeks in Finland, which I'm supposed to do. Yeah, they're supposed to play here on June 10th. So we shall see when the next stream is going to be. Maybe 3-4 weeks, give or take. I tried to do these in the future in the early weekends of any given month, but now it was a little bit hassle with me coming from Spain back to Finland and all that stuff. Now, of course, some proper Nightside interview will be done in the foreseeable future. If I get to hire my friend to do the questioning, and I will do the answering. But for the time being, this should be the interview, or at least some kind of a stream one, until there will be a better one. Oh yeah, Lex Beltram. Let's talk about the Marduk topic later on. That's an interesting topic. So I'll get back to you later on about it and all that stuff. Thank you so much, guys, for asking those questions. I hope you got the answers you were looking for from me, and all that stuff. Stay tuned for a lot more Rauta stuff. There will be more interviews coming to you on a weekly basis for a long time now. There are lots of stuff out there that I need to get out for your viewing pleasure and all that stuff. And always remember, should you have questions, to me or anything related to Rauta, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Or then you can reach me on Rauta's Discord, Rauta's Facebook or Instagram. So questions your way, and I will be answering to the best of my possibilities and abilities and all that stuff. So good night. So take care and see you with the next stream in about a month or so. Good night.